all across the floor. Footsteps echo, then no more. Cold hands reach where light won't stay, calling you to come and play. Dancing shadows spinning fast, fear and laughter they will clash. Beat of terror, pulse of night. Darkness sings but feels alive. Eyes that follow from the wall. Silent voices start to call. Heartbeat racing with the drums. You can run, but still they come. Dancing shadows spinning fast. Fear and laughter, they will clash. Beat of terror, pulse of night. Darkness sings but feels alive. Eyes that follow from the wall. Silent voices start to call. Heartbeat racing with the drums. You can run, but still they come.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Night Terrors and Other Tales.
Yes.
Sorry in advance for the technical difficulties, but
Yes.
how are you
Yes,
doing, Chris?
I'm fine. We've been having weird technical things. I think it's the strange powers that be don't want to get the show out tonight, you know. That's a mystery that we can add on to everything, you know.
That's
But
okay.
how's things we used to be and what's been happening? I forgot to put my ball on here. I need to put this on for some theatricalness. You
Oh,
know.
goodness. Yeah.
My hair
Well-
would stand up, but I've got nothing left.
I've been pretty busy, but I think the most exciting thing is the guest that we have for
Yes.
all of you tonight.
Yes.
There are very few researchers in the UK, or anywhere for that matter, who have spent a lifetime inside the world of the unexplained while maintaining structure, discipline, and an
Mhm.
investigative rigor. So, this is tonight's special guest. His name is Stephen Mera, and I'll bring him up here in a second. But he's widely regarded as one of the UK's most respected researchers in ufology, anonymous phenomenon or anomalous phenomena. We'll see if
Yes.
I can pronounce all these,
Mhm.
and the supernatural. So he has more than 1,000 hours of mainstream and alternative television appearances examining cases that most people just never even get close to. He's also the chairman of MAPIT, which is Manchester's Aerial Phenomena Investigation Team. And he's the founder of the scientific establishment of parapsychology, which was created in 1996 to bring structure and standards into the field, often criticized for lacking both. So, without further ado, there's so much I could talk about this man, but without further ado, please everybody welcome Stephen Mera.
Welcome.
Hi guys. Hi, thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's an absolute honour.
It's good to see you.
Can't wait.
It really is. We've been so excited for this.
have
So,
been.
thank you for joining us.
Yes,
No,
thank you so
always
much.
happy to do this. Yeah, always good to get information out. That's all what we do it for, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
to get that information out to people. So yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I've been really looking forward to this because obviously I've been watching a lot of your stuff on the old TV
All
and
right.
YouTube and stuff like. I've been doing my research and stuff like that. But honestly, I mean, can I ask you something? How did you get into this? That's something that I did want to ask you. How did you get into this?
The subject.
Yes.
Okay, so well, if you had asked me about that about maybe 10, 12 years ago, I would have basically said that I grew up with my father being interested in the subject, and he had a lot of books. So when I was young, I was reading, some of the books that people still read today, and I had a fascination for it. Now, but that's not quite the truth. I mean, it was 12 years ago until I changed and thought do you know what? I'm going to have to speak up a little bit. I'm an experiencer.
Yeah.
I've been an experiencer since I've been 7 years of age.
Wow.
It was kept out of the of my work basically because we've been an investigative researcher. I didn't want people to think that my conclusions would be biased because I've been an experiencer.
Mhm.
So I left that out. But do you know, time goes on and you think to yourself, no, damn it, I can't, it's not right for me to be talking to people which are having experiences very similar to the ones I've had myself, because I certainly know what they mean when they're talking about these profound and traumatic experiences. And I thought, you know, it didn't sit well with me. And as times changed, people thought, well, no, you can be an investigative researcher
Yeah.
and be an experiencer, you know. But early on, you know, when I first started, that was a bit of a no-go area.
Mhm.
You know, you either were an investigative researcher and you know, or if you were interested in the subject and you were an experiencer, you wouldn't be investigating it. They thought it was a bit biased back then. But it isn't. And, you know, if anybody can just do as good a job, and I'd say that to anybody out there, if you're an experiencer, makes them no different in regarding, you know, in fact, there's some bonuses, you know, when you start
Yeah.
to realize when dealing with people who have experiences, shared experiences, things that they've had, like, you know, might be the same things that I've been experienced. So I thought I'd just come clean, you know, about maybe 12 years ago and started to come out with just basically telling people the truth, really. And though that my dad did have books, actually, when he was interested in the subject, you know, but that wasn't the excuse. I mean, my dad was into the subject because of my experiences from being 7 years of age,
Yeah.
you know. But
Wow.
it took him a long time to get used to that. I mean, it took me to a child psychologist at 10 years of age to try and work out, is it something to do with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that had to be
Yeah.
just a very scary kind of time for you.
It was terrifying to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was an only child, so it was terrifying, absolutely terrified. Um, but it changed my life. It changed my processes of how I do things, everything. It's geared, you know. And I tried to get away from this subject a few times because I'm an engineer by trade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did telecommunications, electronics, alarm security, engineering, fire security. I've done all them. So I ended up being contracted to NATO, and
Yeah.
I worked on some very specialized telecommunications stuff there. And but the phenomenon just keeps dragging you back, dragging you back.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm paddle with the current now. Look, this is where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Maybe it was from that
Yeah.
initiated experience after being from being 7 years of age. Maybe that's what puts you on the path.
Yes.
And I
Right.
think it's the same for many others. I mean, only recently, Gary Nolan, and you know, when Gary Nolan first came out, I assume you know Gary Nolan, you've heard of Gary
Mhm.
Nolan
Mhm.
Yeah.
from the SRI. He's been doing a lot of research and involved in the subject of UAP, is what they call it now, UAP.
Mhm.
Now, I said when he first came out, and I thought, how much is he involved? Well, he's suddenly come from nowhere and he's involved all this. He's an experiencer. And I said
Mhm.
years ago, I think about 2, 3 years back, I said, look, he's an experiencer. There's no way he's come from where he is to there and
Yeah.
maintaining where he is now if you haven't experienced it. And I think within the last couple of weeks, he's actually come out and said, you know, that, oh, yeah, these beings were in my bedroom when I was a young lad.
Yeah.
And I thought to
Wow.
myself, bingo, you know, there
Yes.
is a pattern to this, you know, why
Mhm.
people are involved. Some people I still know, and you'd know them by name, these people,
Yeah.
researchers around the world that I'm good friends with. They still have not come out and talked about being an experiencer. And I don't know why, but,
Yeah.
you know, they're spending their life writing books and in this subject, but they just don't want to go there, you know. And
Yeah.
at first, it's up to them. That's up, you know, if they feel a bit uncomfortable about it. But I know some of experiences, you know.
Right.
So it's up to them though if she should come out. So I did. I eventually broke the ice on this one, and then of course I was asked loads of questions about those experiences. Absolutely crazy. For many people when I first came out about it. So interesting it was. So
Yeah.
that's how I kind of got into the subject.
See? Wow.
So with the experiences that you've had personally, and then hearing all of these stories from other people, but also knowing that some people aren't coming forward to share those experiences. Is there anything, like any specific advice that you would give to somebody that maybe has had this experience and has just been trying to figure out, well, how do I come forward with something like this?
Well, the best advice is you've got to talk about it. You've got to share these encounters, experiences with somebody, otherwise you
Yeah.
go absolutely nuts. You've got to get it off your chest. You don't need to feel that that you might get ridiculed. You don't need to fear the fact. I mean, look, what's more problematic is that you keeping this to yourself.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
longer it goes on, the harder it is to get it out. So I would say, look, just be open and talk about those experiences. It's not the elephant in the room at
Yeah.
conversation anymore. It might have been years back, but it's not. Look, we're 2026 now. We've come on a lot. You
Yes.
can comfortably talk about these subjects now, even in an official capacity if you wanted to. People need to talk. People need to tell people if they're having trauma or problems, because
Yes.
it can lead, if you keep hold of all that, it leads to problems further down
Yes.
the path. It really does.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just be open. Don't be afraid, and just talk. You've got to share these
Yeah.
experiences.
It's like people that have been like abducted
Yeah.
by our little friends or whoever they are, and they keep it in, and they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to talk about it. And it builds up and it builds up, and eventually that will do harm to them. And I do feel, in a way, too, some of them are like, how can I say this? It's like, oh, will people ridicule me? Will people make a fool of me because I said I had a UFO experience? I was beamed up. They were doing things to me. But I think now, because of like UFO disclosure and things that are getting on, where especially you and TV and stuff like that, I do think it's a better time. Maybe long ago, maybe in the 90s, no. I think
No,
people
it
laughed
wasn't
at you
that
and
then.
stuff, you
Yeah,
know.
70s, 80s, and 90s. People really didn't. I mean, this is why we had a few support groups. There are not many support groups around now, unfortunately. But the phenomena hasn't subsided. Just the reporting of it is subsiding.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because people don't talk about it. And when they do now, they might even just post it on the internet, on YouTube or TikTok or places like that. And it's basically alive for a day and then lost amongst
Yes.
the millions of other videos. It doesn't come across our desk very often now. Not
Mhm.
like it used to in the 90s and 80s.
It's crazy to think that, it's the phenomena hasn't happened any less. It's just the fact that people are talking about it a little
Yeah.
bit less right
Yeah.
now.
Well, in fact, I would argue the point that it's actually increased.
Yes.
Phenomena has increased. And I tell you what, there's what is we call is directly proportional phenomena. In other words, the more people that become aware of it, the more it becomes aware.
Ah,
You understand
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To people that have never heard the subject about UFOs or never thought anything about it, suddenly they're watching TV all the time, and every single day on the news now there's something, UFO this, UFO that.
Yeah.
And then next minute, they're like, wow, we saw one. When?
Yeah.
Well, last week. And have you never seen one before? Well, no. But why all of a sudden? Well, there's like this, it's like it's around consciously, and it's connecting with
Yes.
people who have a bit of interest. If you've got a bit of interest in it, you're going to experience it. It's
Mhm.
it's weird. It's strange how it works like that.
I
Yeah.
have noticed that, because when I know people that are like, oh, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I said, I'm telling you, look into it, and they start looking into it, and they're like, oh, I seen this cigar shaped UFO. It was weird. It was just floating through the sky.
Yeah, this phenomenon is there for everyone, for everyone. It's good and bad in a sense, but it's directly associated to the consciousness of observation and belief.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you believe it's possible to experience something and you have the intent to do so, it will meet you halfway, this phenomenon.
Right.
And
Mhm.
suddenly you start seeing things and you think, wow, I've never seen anything like that until I got into this or started reading that or doing this.
Yeah.
It's a story that keeps repeating itself through generations.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, that you had mentioned that too, because it was something that I've clearly tried to tell people. Belief has so much to do with any experience that you have in life. But
For sure.
what
Yeah.
what kinds of standards of evidence do you personally require before you even consider something to be unexplained or to be,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
par-
Yeah. Acknowledge there's something.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, that's changed over the years. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time now. So, I mean, back then it was like, wow, when photographs and we got, people started getting cameras, not, there were no cell phones out then, but cameras. People started taking photographs and they would put those forward as evidence. And, back then, when I was doing it, you'd have to get the negative.
Yeah.
Which people, the kids now would look at you and go, "What's a negative?"
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Or a slide.
slide, yeah, exactly. They just wouldn't know. But we would have to, interrogate, analyze the negative to see if there's anything, if there's any alterations and anything that looks a little bit unusual, which might lead it to a rational explanation. But we did consider that evidence, photographs. And if you're lucky enough to get it on a video, not many people filmed much in the skies on those old video
Yes.
sets. And I'll tell you the reason is because they're about this big and too damn heavy to point up at the sky. People walk around and film weddings and holidays and things like that. It was a big VHS tape go on it, so it
Oh, I know. My dad had
it
one.
weighed about a 5-pound sack of potatoes on your
I can't bear it.
half inch shoulder as well after a while. And I used to have them, and but you're not sort of. It's not a sort of thing you can easily adjust it around the sky. So people weren't doing it much. And as they started to get smaller and smaller, they ended up into the high 8 range, which was a small cassette. And people started to be able to film with one hand instead of holding a machine one hand, and they could, but that was good.
Yeah.
That was classed as video evidence. But now
It's
the
on
priority is shifted away from photographic and video evidence to independent witness statements. In that they got two independent witnesses, for an example, who both saw the same thing from two different locations. Perfect. That's really comes in at number one now,
Yeah.
as in good evidence in regarding an incident like that. As opposed to the camera and the photographs and video, it dropped down simply because we've got to the point where the people that are creating fake
Yeah.
photographs and video is better than the software that we use to analyze the damn stuff.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's been a constant technological battle. They get better, we get better, and now when it's leveling off slowly to the point where we can't tell. We can't say for 100% sure that isn't fake.
Right.
I've came across this where people have like, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this UFO? And I'm sitting looking at it, and it looks real. It looks real. There's one in particular, and it's like I think it's Denver in the United States, and it's a UFO. It's hovering, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it's about 15 feet off the ground, but there's no shadow underneath it. There's no shadow. You would suspect like a shadow.
You would expect it. Yeah.
People believe it's real. And if you look at it close enough, you can tell that that's like CGI. You can tell it's AI.
You can, yeah. You get an eye, don't you, Chris? I
Yes.
mean, when the more you look at this stuff, you get an eye for the CGI, But they're coming away from CGI now.
I know.
That's the old technology. It was easy
know.
to spot, but some of the stuff now, I mean, look, all we got to consider, look, if you go and see a movie about UFOs and stuff, it looks absolutely damn real.
I know.
If you were to see that unfold in the sky, you wouldn't know the difference. So we've reached a point where photographs and videos are very interesting. Don't get me wrong. It's but it's secondary. It's secondary
Right.
evidence opposed to your first lot of evidence. So it's just the way time's moving, and now with the introduction of AI, now
Yeah.
it's getting better and better
Oh,
and
yeah.
better. That I mean, you've got actors. I saw a scene the other day, completely fake, with Brad Pitt and
Yeah, I seen that.
Tom Cruise battering the hell out of each other. and
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, it's a new movie. No, it was fake. And you know what? You could put that in front of anybody, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't tell. So that's how fast things have changed over the years. It was a little bit more stricter years ago. It was a bit more fun. I mean, your investigation stuff in 1983 was like a big tape recorder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You press play on a little microphone you plugged into.
Yeah.
You had a pair of binoculars, a pad, a pen, a compass. I mean, you didn't really have any. You didn't even have an EMF meter because it was only in industrial stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
The big Geiger counter. The Geiger looking for radiation.
had a big yellow Geiger counter,
Aye.
to whack it a few times. But that was it. But look at the stuff we got now. I mean, your cell phone can
Yeah.
pretty much
That's
manage it.
that's the thing I'm going to ask you, right? Now, I've had this experience with like UFOs and that, and I've heard other people having this experience. Do you think that there's maybe something built into phones, or what is it the UFOs are actually doing to like phones? Because you'll be standing there and be like, "Oh, look at that big UFO there," but then you look through the camera of the phone,
I
and there's
know I've had
nothing.
that myself. Yeah. The problem is that it's not so much the alteration of the cameras being affected so that it shows up something different than what you see. It's our perception or what they are doing to us in regarding how we perceive them.
Yes.
Oh.
That's what it is. It caused mass confusion initially because people thought it must be affecting the camera because the cameras like I did. I saw craft came right over the house like they do, but it was a strange shape. It was like a diamond, but longer at one end than the other,
Yeah.
and
Wow. Yeah.
it had orange and red lights on the front of
Yeah.
it, and the whole thing was kind of glowing as it slowly moved over the house silently. And of course, I went out I was filming it. Can't get it on camera. The only thing
Yeah.
it's produced on camera is a ball of light,
Yeah.
an orange ball of light, and I'm filming this, and I'm seeing a craft, but my camera wouldn't do it. And it's not just me. I mean, I called somebody else, and they got their camera out, their phone. Exactly the same thing for them. I would say, whatever this thing was, which I believe the camera was probably correct, that this is what you might refer to as the classic is UAP, an intelligent ball of light.
Mhm.
These tend to be the predecessors of manifestation, predecessors to encounters, and many other, even the a predecessor to UFOs appearing in the sky. That's in craft, should we say.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're seen together, just like the balls of light are seen together in many Bigfoot sightings. Your balls of light are seen paranormal phenomena. So they'll go right across the whole chain of subjects and topics. But it was more like maybe I was filming what I was real as a ball of light, but what it was projecting to the observer was a structured craft of some sort.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a tricky one because we've got to understand that sometimes what we see is not exactly what it is. Perception's significantly altered. Now, don't get me wrong, there are crafts,
Mhm.
they're physiological constructs,
Mhm.
just like me, you,
Mhm.
everybody, the chair, the table, all physiological constructs. But they can create physiological
Yeah.
constructs. They've done this through experiments, specialized experiments in government labs and things like
Yeah.
that. They've demonstrated how they can manipulate reality and the physiological construct manifestation. So something manifests and becomes a physiological thing. It's real. It's physical. It can interact with you. They can do that with a craft. The craft is part of the phenomenon. It's not a
Wow.
it's not a vehicle to carry them in a sense.
Mhm.
We like to think that way because we think that way.
See,
Yeah.
But it
when
can
you
be
go,
physical. You can land on the ground and make marks on the
Mhm.
ground. But then
Yeah.
Bigfoot can't it?
Oh,
And then suddenly you've got half a footprint and it
Mhm.
disappears in the snow and you think, where did he go? I mean, they're metaphysical phenomena.
So, based on the things that you have personally witnessed and studied and seen, what is one case that really stands out as resisting conventional explanation? Is there one
Mm.
off the top of your head you can think
Oh
of?
God, well, there's loads. I mean, I've done over 1,200 cases in 42 years. So there's a lot. But people say, I do have rational explanations for cases. Well,
Mm.
nobody wants to hear them.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear when I found out it was fake or it was
Mhm.
a misidentification,
Mhm.
or it just
Wow.
wasn't true. Nobody wants to hear that. They will always want
Yeah.
to hear about the things that weren't,
Right.
because anybody that's investigating will know this, will know that you've got to have a certain amount of opportunities arise for you to get those really good cases. For me, the SCP was the Scientific Establishment of Parapsychology was first formed to deal with corporate companies on a confidential basis. This is why you might look for the Scientific Establishment of Parapsychology, you probably won't find anything of it because it's not a public thing.
Wow.
What it is for, it's for the Public Relations Office, the UK's Public Relations Office. That's where they've got all the details. So we ended up doing about 16 and a half years of corporate confidential cases for the Ministry of Defence, for the police, the CID, businesses, shops, believe it or not, supermarkets, office buildings, and even private landlords. We did this on a corporate level and confidential as well because they became our clients, you see. And everything was done to keep it out of the press. That's the whole thing. They don't want press. They don't want bad press. Who wants bad press when you're a company associated? If you've got a haunted house and you're renting it, that company doesn't want that information out. They're not going to be able to re-rent that home. That's the problem. So certain protocols are written, and I've come across so many incidents over the years. There's been the odd few which have sort of stuck out and surprised me. The Rochdale Poltergeist case, simply because it put me in the back and took me across the room. I was on top of a damn dressing table. But it was being an engineer. I also knew that I did have a physical thump in the back, but I also had a quite an acute electric shock, and it was that seemed to repel me. Not the physical. I'm a big guy. It's going to take. What's it going to take to knock me, 4 foot across on top of a dressing table? Probably more than a thump to the back. You know what I mean? But I did get a thump to the back. But it was like a combination of that and an electric shock at the same time. So there is an electrical part of the poltergeist infestation. Electrical, there's something about electricity or its power to inflict injuries.
I've always wondered about the poltergeist cases because they'll begin, right, and then like 6 months later it just stops, and that's it. Never happens again.
Yeah.
And do you think there is something to do with like younger people, especially like young girls and stuff like that? Because there's been a lot of cases with younger women.
Well, yeah, there has. I mean, most lie. I would say about maybe 80% of them have associations with Focus or the Catalyst, if you want to call it that. And they tend to be more female than male, but it does happen to male as well. But they tend to be in the adolescent age. And years ago, the SPR, the Society of Psychical Research, and the Journal of Scientific Study came out, Exploration, and said it's written in stone that it's associated with these children, and it's unspent energies that you're using, a form of PK. They might be not aware, they're responsible, and they had everybody believe this for years. An absolute load of rubbish.
Wow.
I mean, look, I'm not going to rule out the fact that could happen, but it's certainly far from written in stone. I mean, I've investigated poltergeist phenomena in a couple's house where they were both in the 70s. I've investigated incidents of poltergeist phenomena in a house where there's nobody living.
Wow. So that kind of
so there's no rule book with this. They like to think it was, but they were wrong. So they hate me. They hate it when I pull that out really and say, but it's true. We've got to move on. We can't be static. We've got to advance the subject, and we've got to be honest and say, look, when it comes to poltergeist phenomena, we need to reassess. We need to go right back to the beginning. So that's what we did. We did studies in poltergeist phenomena and paranormal mechanics associated to it. It was really interesting that people didn't do certain stuff. I mean, for instance, items that moved. That was over there, but now it's moved or seen it move. You know what? Well, yeah, that can happen in poltergeist phenomena. I mean, object manipulation is probably the most significant of all incidents in poltergeist, because you've got arranging, you've got stacking, you've got the apports, you've got movement, you've got things that turn up but don't belong, you've got all sorts of different things. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there.
The one that I've always been interested with poltergeist cases, and I maybe no poltergeist cases, also like spiritual cases, is where things will disappear. Things will just disappear.
Yeah.
Like car keys, house keys,
Well, it's
small things.
always something that's important to you.
And then when the house is getting renovated, maybe like a couple of years down the road, and they pull a wall apart, there's a big pile of things.
Yeah, that's
How
right.
did they get there?
Well, they're apported there.
Yeah.
That's their lovely little thing they do.
Yeah.
You know, this is how resourceful they are, because they don't have to take them far. All you got to do is go 2 foot to the wall or 3 foot
Go.
below you under the floorboards. You know, it happens. But I do believe that on some cases that some of these apports are duplicated. You know, it's a duplicated item. And the item that's left in the home is not the item that left initially. You know, it's been found as an apport, and you might consider no different than the actual original item, except under the microscope, of course. However, what that I believe does, it allows a quantum anchoring to take place for the phenomena to deliver the disturbances to the home. Because, you know, we've got this thinking that, well, how many cases are there? You know, well, they say, oh, well, there's 100 cases in the UK. There isn't, but let's say that there was 100 well-known cases in the UK. We would likely believe some years back that, oh, well, that must be like there's 100 different poltergeists then.
No.
Nobody ever gave it any thought that we're dealing with a multitasking force. Well, I mean, it's certainly explained that you getting objects that don't belong to you. Especially if it's, I mean, this could be global, because people are saying, look, why do I keep getting coins on the Spanish? You know, and it could even bridge time, because people have said, I've got these really old coins, and when they've been asked and looked at, they're like, as if they'll only look like a year or two old.
Yes.
They don't look like, you know, so you think, was it just plucked from outside a house, you know, in the 1500s? And then just put in 2021 somewhere else. And this is why people tend to get like, well, I've only got Spanish coins. Well, is there something going on in Spain? You know,
see, that's interesting. You say that, because if you go back in time in the 15th century in Spain or whatever, the guy will be like, where's my gold coin? It's just disappeared. But then if you jump forth into the year 2020, like 7 or 6, right?
Yeah.
And you're standing there, and there's a gold coin appeared, and you're like, oh, where's this come from?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a problem that, I mean, really look at it, it looks more like it's a multitasking collective force, which is international, you know, and it seems to be, might be breaching time and space as well as vast distance. You know, because we can't just consider, there's all these different poltergeists. Then the evidence would seem that it's more of a multitasking. So we put it to the test by removing the apports, because if they're acting as a quantum anchor, in other words, you're blindfolded, but you know that you've got to deliver something somewhere. Well, what do you do? Well, imagine if you left a bell in a location and you knew then, I know where to go now. Well, that's like, you know, it's like the apport's acting as a quantum anchor. It knows where to deliver phenomena to, because it's placed something in the environment, purposeful. You know, now it doesn't just happen in poltergeist phenomena, right? People like to think it does, but if you want to get into, I mean, people won't talk about this very often, but demonic possession.
Aye.
Right now, in the cases of real demonic possession, because there's a lot of Hollywood stuff going on,
right?
But in cases of real demonic possession that you don't get to hear much about, on a lot of occasions, when they're trying to rid the patient or the victim, if you want to call it that, of this intelligence, sometimes they'll vomit up small items.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
And as my good friend Nathaniel Gillis would say, they're trying to desperately anchor themselves into the environment, because the priest is trying the best to get rid of it, and it's desperately trying to claw itself to the environment. And it's throwing these things out, regurgitating these items out of nowhere. and they're physical things to anchor itself to the environment. It's the same
Yes.
kind of practice, really.
I've heard about that. I watch a
You've
lot
heard
of
about
stuff.
it, yeah.
I have actually. I like I look into a lot of things about like demonic possessions because I find it quite an interesting subject.
Mm.
And I've heard about how people have threw up, and when they threw up, they threw up a thimble,
Yeah.
and somebody's
There,
like, "Ah,
there you go.
a
Yeah.
thimble,"
Yeah.
and then or a coin, and they're like, "How
Coins.
is this possible? How is this possible?"
Well, it's it's what it's reference. How to explain it is that the demonic phenomena also utilizes the poltergeist activity, the poltergeist stuff it can do, the mechanics of a poltergeist, the apportation of it. You know, I mean, so does the alien implant phenomena. I mean, how are the implants getting into the body? There's no scarring. Yeah, well, here's a little clue. In Yorkshire, about 12 years ago, a little boy plays in his bedroom having poltergeist activity. He's, he had Lego stuff in the bedroom and cars and all sorts. Sometimes they just fly across the room
Yeah.
and in tremendous speed. They put dints in the plaster.
Yeah,
I saw the
Wow.
dints in the plaster. If this toy metal car would have hit him, it could on the temples. It could have killed him. Absolutely.
that's
But
crazy.
it's not so much like it wants to cause injury, but it wants to cause that you think it would, because that
Mhm,
creates a huge amount of stress and vexation. And these are parasitic, they like to
mhm.
feed from all that fear feeders.
Yeah.
But on one particular occasion, he reported that one of the Lego bricks hit him. It hit him on his face here, and he had a red mark, and he was crying and stuff.
Mhm.
But not often. Most of them were projectiles like bullets flying. I think it has also happened in in Enfield. I think one people reported a Lego brick hitting
Gosh,
him.
was it no the what was his name? The guy
Was
who
it Claire? I can't
oh
remember
what's the main who was the main guy in what was it? The one that recorded everything. He got hurt.
now.
He seemed to be a Lego brick, did he know?
Yeah, I think his forehead. Was it Mayfield?
I think
Something.
so.
Yeah.
I think it was him.
And I thought nothing of that. I didn't even connect it at the time, but it hit him on the side of the face. And just now and again, you get one of a high velocity object, an HVO, just across the room, and he'd be crying, he'd be upset, there'd be little marks and stuff. Anyway, he started reporting a pain in his leg, and he didn't know what was wrong with him. They asked, "Did something hit you?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No, it's just I don't know what it is." And he didn't subside. He left it for a few days. It didn't subside. It's still causing him an issue. So he was, about a week later, he's taken to the doctors. The doctor says, "Well, I've examined. There was a little bit of a red mark on the leg, but he said nothing hit him. But you could clearly see there was some pigment, redness to a small area of skin, maybe about an inch wide.
Yeah.
So he had to go to the hospital for a scan."
Yeah.
And this is what bewildered the doctors, because inside his leg was a small Lego piece.
Oh
And
wow.
he had to have a minor I shouldn't say his name. He had to have he had to have an operation, a minor operation. Mind you, we're talking 12 years ago now, to have it removed. So yes, he would have had a scar from that to have it removed. But what they couldn't find is how the hell there was no entry point, there was no cuts, there was no scarring.
Oh.
And he couldn't understand how that Lego piece had got in there. And he didn't really get into talking much about it more than that, because it was just one of the talks that maybe the doctors talk between themselves as, "Hey, have you heard this one? This is a bit of a weird one." And it was extracted, and it was extracted and put in a bag and everything. And
Yeah.
I've got a photograph, I've got a picture of it. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was in his leg. The thing is, how did it get in his leg? Well, I assume it apported into his leg.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
does that mean that when we're dealing with these so-called beings and alien implants, and we're not
That's
sure how they get in, is it the same use of the poltergeist mechanics?
Yeah, and actually while you're bringing this up, do you believe that this is just an example of one of those mechanics that also could be in common with other activity? So would you believe that UFO encounters, poltergeist activity, and maybe even alien abductions share any kind of common
So, so
route?
much, absolutely
Yeah.
so much. I mean, if you just break it down, you've got some. It's not. I'm not going to say it's demonic. I'm not going to say that, but I'm saying that what the demonic uses in regards to manipulation and the mechanics of phenomena, that the UFO phenomena utilizes that very same pot. Also, it's right across the board in poltergeist phenomena as well. And the ufological things. So there's so much. I mean, just look at paralysis for an example.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shadow being, an apparition in your bedroom. You've got paralysis. You end up having this encounter. It's no difference, because what happens is that when we go to sleep at night, when we're properly asleep, I mean, we spend about 8 hours in bed just to try and get about 20 minutes REM. Because we're in and out all night long of sleep, in, out, in, out. If you set up a video recorder and watch yourself, it's crazy, because you've got to consider when you're asleep, you don't move, right? You only move when you're hypnopompic or hypnagogic and you're coming into sleep,
Yeah.
you're going out of sleep. Most of the night, you're moving around. If you fast forward it, it's funny, you're moving around.
Yeah, I know. I wear the Apple Watch and it
Yeah.
shows you what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. You spend most of your time, but just now and again, through the night, you're going to grab a minute here and a minute there. That's all your body needs, about 20 minutes of REM just to, it's not for muscle relaxation neither. We don't really know, but it's something to do with the brain, really. But what's interesting is that that mechanism of REM when we are asleep causes two things. It's called input blockade and output blockade. The input blockade means that you can't hear anything. Your ears get turned off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? So it doesn't mean if a brass band walks past, you won't hear it. You will not hear it in REM. And the same for the way of output blockade, which means that you can't move. You're paralyzed.
Yes.
So you lost your hearing and you can't move. That's
can't
what
speak.
the body does. You can't do nothing. Now, the thing is that people said, oh, no, that's rubbish, because I remember me lashing out at the wife like one night in a dream. I said, yeah, but you were hypnopompic or hypnagogic. You were just coming out of your dream. You took your dream with you and you relayed it in a physical manner. That's hypnopompic or hypnagogic states. You're not in REM, because I guarantee you cannot move. You cannot hear. The thing is, though, those little two switches are in here. Well, isn't it great that the phenomena can come along and just go boop, 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 and switch the switches?
Yep.
It doesn't have to deliver something special. All it's got to do is interfere with the electricity in your brain, the electrical impulses, and that's what cause those switches to be switched. Thus, you are paralyzed.
See, that happened. It's only happened to me once. For the love of God, I hope it doesn't happen tonight after saying that.
Nice, are they?
But it only happened to me once. I don't know about Sabrina. Have you ever had it, Sabrina? I was about 15 at the time, and it's when I started to experience all my psychic stuff. And it wasn't in this room, but it was the room across. And I woke up, but I was lying on my stomach, but my head was turned that way. Couldn't move, could not move, could not speak, couldn't hear anything, which was interesting. I could not hear a thing. But what I could see is I could see this person standing. But what was weird, it was as if I could see through them. But they weren't like a ghost. It was weird. It wasn't like a spirit, because I could see like their organs.
Oh, that's a strange one. Yeah.
And I could see it was as if they were made of glass.
Yeah.
And you could see their veins and you could see everything.
Yeah.
And I woke up maybe like 4 hours later, but I've still had that memory.
Well, yeah, I mean, science wants to argue that these are just night terrors, and I will always argue against it. Why do you not wake up and see a furry dancing dragon? Why do you not wake up and see a relative? Why do you not wake up, and see a dog or something? I don't know. Why is it always something really weird and strange? There's my argument for all the scientists in the world, because they like to say, oh, no, it's just well, no, it isn't. Because this consistency, it shouldn't be consistent that the people are having those experiences. What happens is under those states, you are more aware of what is around. And phenomena is, I mean, look, people have said to me, Steve, when we're asleep, we might actually be nearer to death than we are in actually alive. We might be edging death nearly every single night.
Yeah.
We become acquainted with it, because that world is open to us, but not open to us in our conscious normal state. You know, it is pretty strange, and sometimes, you know, people have been adversely affected by phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thinking that it was initially just something that they saw during a paralysis, but then it's substantiated in the environment, and is sometimes they're physically attacked. You know, it's actually one particular photograph. It's actually two. Actually, I did send some photos over to you guys, and I've got photograph number 8 and 9, which you can have a look at here. But what it basically is this was an investigation I was involved in Leicester, and the people there were being physically attacked
Wow.
by phenomenon, and it was happening not just at night, but it was also happening during the day. And but I got time to get involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
There was not only incendiary effects, things bursting into flames around the house, but openly you could hear conversations from nobody being there. It was crazy. But the phenomenon, what it did is that it actually it left a mark on this particular gentleman, and it was a large handprint mark on him.
Mm.
Now, what was very interesting is that the marking was subdermal, not dermal. The difference is that it comes from inside out. The mark, it's underneath the skin and razors. Yeah.
Right.
And that's different. But apart from that, though, the hand was large. It also had quite long nails, like talons, on it.
See, it makes you wonder. I mean, you're doing the demonic route and stuff like that, right? And I've wondered this for a long time. I mean, maybe the demonic, let's just say demons or whatever they are. I don't particularly believe in them, but I do believe there's something else, because obviously the religion only goes back to a certain point. What happens if these are interdimensional beings?
Well, there you have it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're coming into your existence. They're not really coming to scare us, but they're coming here as maybe like scientists, and they're maybe doing little experiments.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
A lot of them, you know, I mean, they do different things, Chris, to be honest with you. You know, some of them are just tormentors, some of them are fear feeders, some of them are tricksters, some of them have planned agendas to do certain things. Some of it's about biology, some of it's about genetics and DNA. There's all sorts of different things. But I would agree that demons don't exist as far as I'm concerned. But then I would also argue that maybe angels don't either. And it's not because I don't believe in angels and people limiting, but I believe in an archetype.
Yes.
I believe an archetype with certain intentions can appear as an angel.
Yes.
If you understand what I'm saying. I don't think, I mean, if we were to go by archetypes, we're talking nearly 5,000 of them. You know, can't. It's just not feasible,
Well,
you know?
I do think there are good beings in the universe, right?
Yeah.
And angels, we just call them angels because of the Bible. Because if the Bible didn't exist, we wouldn't call them angels. We call them angels
because the phenomena predates. Look, angels weren't on the scene until the Ezekiel days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the phenomena predates that. So when did the demons well, the phenomena predates them.
Yeah.
Predates Satan. You know, so the thing is that the religions of the world have been built upon phenomena. They've been built upon interaction with phenomena, and they've called it this, they've called it that. I mean, they're not all called angels. You know, in our language, in our world, we say angels.
Yeah.
In other countries, it wouldn't. It's, you know, I mean, if we were if you took anybody, you know, from the Middle East, right, and they look up into the sky and they see these balls of light, which are referred to as UAP, they'd run away in panic because they would call them jinn, because jinn are smokeless. It's smokeless fire. And that is exactly how they see it. These balls of light, plasma, is smokeless fire. It's the same color as fire. But it's smokeless. This is the same things we're seeing in the skies all over the world. To the Middle East, it's the jinn. To us, the UAP.
So, for this kind of phenomenon that occurs, is it reacting to us or are we reacting to it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Both. Yeah, because we can be targeted by phenomenon. Various different type of phenomena. We can be certainly targeted. And that's if we we fit in their plan, or if they want something from us, or they want us to deliver something in 10 years' time, whatever, that can happen. A lot of the time, there's a cohabitee. It's a conduit that it takes two to tango, in a sense of speaking.
Yeah.
That we might be unaware of how much we're involved, but there certainly is a partnership programs which do take place between the individuals and the phenomenon. And then, of course, it's just us. There's certain people that have the ability to reach out to it, into the ether, into those different levels. You could say, and but you know what? This is the problem, because not everybody can traverse all levels. Yeah, some talk to spirits, some talk to other things.
Right.
There are sequences. There's a hierarchy, like layers of an onion. Not all people penetrate that, but the phenomena can penetrate all.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that's the problem. It's because it can guise itself to be anything. We've had balls of light turn up, and out of this ball of light came the manifestation of a deceased relative, which communicated with them. So you think, oh, right, it's a spiritual thing. And this is why the nuns and the priests many years ago thought the balls of light was showing spirits in purgatory. No, because what they didn't realize in these nunneries in France and stuff is that the two of these balls of light, which were passing down through these long corridors in the middle of the night, usually around about 3 o'clock in the morning, interestingly enough, which is
Yeah,
so
that's real.
it is interesting, a 3 o'clock thing, because people are mostly asleep by that time. If we were doing a study, we'd say how many people are mostly asleep at a certain time. We'd say 3 o'clock. It's also suggested that it's a mockery of the Trinity. Who knows? But I don't think so. I think it's just that's what they want to see it for. But two of these balls of light, size of basketballs, come flying through, and they're traveling about 25 mile an hour. They're traveling fast.
Wow.
Right, a nun comes out. It's because some of them are up through prayer through the night and stuff, and see these two whoosh whoosh go right past. They go down. She's going down the corridors at 25 miles an hour, and they take a sharp left at the time, at the bottom, and then they go into one particular nun's room, and then they manifested things as non-human entities, and did some horrible things to that nun. How do we know? Because she documented every single experience in a diary. And then she passed that to the Vatican, the church, and the Vatican got that diary and changed the story to she was experiencing Cupid. Appeared in the room with Cupid's arrow.
Wow.
It wasn't. It was a 3-foot being with a long prong thing in his hand, and I'm not going to even tell you where he put that. It was an awful ordeal for that nun. But the fact is, that's what the Vatican did. And it's not just that, they do it with all of them. Francis of Assisi and many others. They turn it into this religious connotation, when in fact it was never that. So they know. They know.
I will say, with the angel kind of aspect with things, I mean, Sabrina, you've got thoughts on this too. I know that. I mean, with the angels, we know them as the angels because the Bible calls them angels, right? But they don't actually look. You see, angels, they don't actually look like the beautiful swords and shields and armor. They look like you and me. That's because I've had experiences, and I know Sabrina, do you want to come in here?
They do. And don't get me wrong, some of these have good intent. Absolutely. How do we measure good intent? Well, there's a little bit of a problem here, because the thing is that phenomena can guise itself. Okay, so in other words, the archetype, how do we know this? Because the archetype is changed during the experience that people have seen. In other words, it couldn't hold it and changed to something else. When pressured, it's changed to something else. So we can't trust our eyes, because the archetype can change its form.
Right.
The problem also is that it floods you with endorphins, so you feel euphoric. How do we know this? Because we've got statistics and measurements of the overproduction of endorphins in the body after abduction cases. So we know that they're being flooded with endorphins to have the sensory of a euphoric experience. We take it one further. We talk, where people have had pretty much nice experiences. 4 or 5 incidents of alien abduction cases, believe that they were communicating with her, trying to teach her stuff, trying to let her know of things and stuff. She really wanted to know a little bit more about because she felt she couldn't remember certain aspects of what they were trying to teach her.
Yeah.
She went for hypnosis. And under hypnotic regression, the aspect of what she was trying to remember became a nightmare, because not only the item, that part of that area that she couldn't remember, everything else was false. It was a memory that had been placed inside, false memory.
Yes.
And she remembered being upside down on a slab, basically, which tilts up, horrible things happening to her, tremendous pain, and zero emotion from them. And she screamed out for Jesus and God, and nothing happened. And that's what she remembered. And then she woke up from the hypnosis, recalling all that. So this is why I turn around to people saying, look, don't go for hypnotic regression. We don't remember for a reason.
Right.
And there are two reasons for this. That A, the brain itself is so traumatized that it's got rid of the information. It happens to car crash victims and stuff. Or secondly, they've done it so that you don't recall, because they don't want you to recall this stuff and the little details of things they're using and what is that and that. You know, they don't want that information out. So it's not about us. They're not doing it because, oh, well, you know, we're really concerned that you might have found this an ordeal and we don't want you to go through that. No, they don't. They don't give a damn about that, really. I mean, look, the Intruders Foundation, the Intruders, the movie and the book and the, you know, miniseries that they did. I talked to one of the leading abductees there, and they said to her, oh, you know, you might feel a little bit of discomfort. She nearly lost her eye. They nearly burnt her eye out. You know, and can you imagine the pain of being awake and experiencing that and not being able to move, but you can experience everything? It's that biggest nightmare, isn't it? It's like going to hospital for an operation and you wake up, you can't move, you can't tell them, but you can feel everything. You know, that is that horrible scenario that this person went through. And yet they turned around and said, oh, we apologize if there's a little bit of discomfort. I thought, oh my God, really? You know, so this does happen to me, but there are euphoric experiences, but how can we trust them? There are terrible experiences where people say, oh, it was a kind of demonic thing, but how can we trust that?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it plays with our minds. And this is why Jacques Vallée said many years ago that, you know, the phenomenon is delivering absurdity on purpose. We are at war. It's a psychological war we're in with this phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because it's doing this to us.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, with all of those experiences of fear, because I know like a lot of the times phenomena will happen around people who are really anxious or depressed, or they have some kind of psychological condition where now we would define that as them having a lower energetic frequency.
Yeah.
So, what kind of role does all of this fear and that energetic frequency play on even some of the UFO phenomena?
Well, yeah, because the UFO, you know, there's fear feeding or fear parasitics, parasites. It's across the whole board in this phenomena, including the UFO stuff, especially pursued by. You know, I was only talking last week, and people are being pursued at the moment. They're being hunted down at night in Brazil by the balls of light.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So you might ask the question, well, what happens when it catches up to you? You do not want to know. You do not. It's not stuff you'd mention on YouTube. Honestly, this stuff is going on over there. Is absolutely terrible. Why is it going on in Brazil? Because it's the biggest country on the planet that does 24/7 ritualistic practice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the capital. And why? You got these phenomena. Actually, look, my colleague told me, Nathaniel said that they had some guy over there doing a UFO. He was at a UFO conference, and he claimed he was a Palladian ambassador.
Oh, got it.
I'm going to say about that, right? I've got my thing about right. I'm going to say the Galactic Federation of Light, right? I've met loads of mediums.
Do you know where that came from? The Galactic Federation.
Where did it come from?
It came from Lab 9, which was experiments done by Dr.
Yeah.
Puderich. Dr. Puderich was conducting specialized experiments of ritualistic practice in communications with non-human intelligence to gather data to be obtained gifting and results and knowledge, that's the ultimate thing. You know, this is where geniism comes from.
Yes.
Because genius is geniism. It comes from genie. It comes from the jinn.
Yeah, the
The
jinn.
jinn would provide knowledge to you, whispers, downloads, that sort of thing. You get great knowledge by being a practitioner, you know, hence you become a genius, you know. But it's hidden in plain sight, all this stuff. But it's been going on for a long time. And Lab 9 even had one of the members, get this, Gene Roddenberry.
Oh.
Now, what did Gene Roddenberry do? The Galactic Federation, in Star Trek. Where do you think he got the idea from? He was sat at the table, around the tables with them.
See,
Wow.
I've met mediums, other mediums, right? And they're like, oh yes, I communicate with the great Galactic Federation of Light. But every single one of these mediums that I have met that do this, they've all got a different story. Every one of them. Every one of them. Some of them are here to help us, but some of them can't touch us. Some of them are coming to save us on, give us medi beds and technology and they live in the moon. Yeah. And it just keeps going on and on and on. I do think, and I'm going to be honest with you, some of the information that's out there with the Galactic Federation, I don't think they exist. I don't think the Galactic Federation exists.
That's why the story keeps changing. It keeps changing, Chris, and it's not because they're making up lies. This thing's telling them this.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we did a study some years ago about spirit guides, right? And we did a survey. We put the information out regarding spirit guides, okay? And then what we did is we decided to look through what they were told us about spirit guides, and knowing what we know, we decided to select some, because not all spirit guides, I believe, are what they say they are. Mm-hmm. So knowing how we pursue and how we know this stuff, so we looked at the details of these people and said, okay, let's pick this person, this person, this. So we got 10 of them, hand selected by us. And then we went through the process of talking with them and asking them about, well, who is your spirit guide? What's the name? Where did they come from? Where did they live? Mm-hmm. That sort of thing, because they claim that they were once human and living on the planet like a spirit. So we got all 10 of these people. I said, look, press them, ask them, press them. And they got told, well, I already know. They've told us that. But, well, a lot of them have already gone through that process. Told us that he worked in this university 35 years ago. This is his name. He lived there. All these other stories as well. Some of them had perished in a car accidents and stuff like that. So we ran a very thorough analysis across all. Not one of these people existed. Not one. Not one of these ones that we'd selected out, the hand-selected ones of the 10. With the other ones, we thought, no, that might actually be somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah. But some of them are not. Some of them are not telling the truth. So what we asked them to do when we provide the data back to them, all these 10, and said, look, here's your information as to what you've told us, doesn't exist. This guy, he never worked at the university. His hospital, there's university records. There was a nurse, he said it was a nurse that worked at this particular hospital. No records. So they're not telling the truth. Yeah. They don't want to let you know. So in other words, they're being quite covert about it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, where I asked them to press, well, what do you think to that? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I said, well, do you not think you should go back and ask them and say to them next time you're in communications with them, why did you lie?
Yeah.
And you know what? There was a generic response from all of them. What's the chance of that? Not individuals, as thinking individually, a generic response came from all of them. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was basically on the lines of, do you want to continue asking questions, or do you not want this relationship anymore? You know? And they didn't want to lose that. They didn't want to lose that relationship with them. They'd had them for years. You know.
Well, I will say there is tricksters. There's tricksters. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There is genuine. There is
genuine ones, but we knew from what they were telling us, they're dealing with an imposter.
Oh yeah.
They're dealing with an imposter, because there's little things they say, and it might be I used to work in a hospital, or I used to work, in a university. But as you look, It's like they're just changing certain names, but it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we thought, there's a trickster, there's an
And they're
imposter.
following a protocol. They're
Yeah.
all following a
They're
protocol.
following the protocol, which means
Yes.
there's a mechanics, there's an intelligence,
Mhm.
there's an order, a pattern, a rule book of some sort. You know what I mean? But you know what? Not one of those 10 people wanted to lose the communications, even though they knew they'd been lied to.
Yes.
And I thought, yeah, exactly. That's what happens. You know, so
Mhm.
within these structured things that are happening, these communications of spirit or whatever, you've got the imposters. And that's a problem because some
problem.
of these people had been communicating for over 15 years with
Yes.
some of these, you know, which is a problem. It's a problem sometimes. We don't know, do we?
No. Actually, that leads to my next question, which is okay, try to follow me on this one because this is kind of funny. But
Okay.
what if we are the ones that are creating all of these experiences through collective conscious awareness, or I don't know, telekinesis, or there's something to be said for collective energy and thought.
Yeah.
So what if we are all just creating these experiences, and then also we are these beings that are doing this to ourselves?
Mhm.
Well, we can never rule that out, Sabrina. You're absolutely right. These conversations have been going around in circles for a long time. You know, we can never rule that out because when we experience phenomena, we experience it through our eyes, our ears, all our senses. But the thing is, all our senses can be can be manipulated, and we can provide. I mean, there's no difference than having a schizophrenic hallucination. You could say, because they'll say they touched me, they pushed me, you know,
Right.
I was in conversation with me. This is the clothing that they had. How do you know in that person's mind it's any different than reality itself? You can't. Reality is not what you think it is, of course, because it is simulated. We know that now. It's designed in a conscious mind, our reality.
Yeah.
And there are things which manipulate, which are outside of that and can manipulate the very fabric of our reality to go about their business, which this phenomena can do. But the problem is that we've got to try and determine the experience of it. The experience is what we obtain through eyesight and hearing and touching and all those things. But each and every one is made up of an electrical impulse. Everything is made up of that. So something can be induced where you would not know the difference between this reality and any other, to be honest. In fact, that's happened. You know, you want to talk about Oz factor experiences, a man, a woman, and a 9-year-old girl in Lancashire. One lovely day, Saturday, they're going down this road. It's a big main road, high street sort of thing. There's shops and there's cars. It's busy. It's sunshine. They look up, the wife, and she sees this ginormous triangular craft, and it's just hovering there. And she can't believe it. And so her husband looks, and all three of them are staring at this thing. And they couldn't understand when looking around why you can't miss this thing. It's so big. Why is not anybody else seeing this? And you know what the next thing happened? Like that, when they were looking at the object, suddenly there was no noise. They looked around. They're still on the high street. They still got shops. No people, no cars, nothing. Just them and it. And then they had the experience. And then they were placed back onto that exactly the same spot, like that, where there's cars and it's busy, it's hustle and stuff going on. It's like they were taken out of reality and just gone next door where it's identical sort of sense. You know, and that's manipulation of reality. There's people have been frozen. You know, people have been just frozen as they're and people have seen outside that area being frozen the experience that these people are having. They're frozen. The phenomena is 30 foot up in the sky. There's an egg-shaped object with a large black windscreen. There's two entities in there look like grays.
Looking at
One guy who's was moving around. The entities are looking at him and looking at the other one, thinking, "Why ain't he frozen? What's going on?" but he saw them. They were manipulated.
I've always wondered about this, right? Let's take the Greys. Let's bring up the subject of the Greys. I can't help myself. I've got to talk about them, right? We know that they're like clones and they're made, right? They're basically the mechanical droid kind of like beings, right? What happens if and let's just go with this might be far out. What happens if the interdimensional beings, right, can't really exist in our reality, right? They can't exist, right, for some weird reason, right? So instead, they think, oh, we'll make the Greys and we'll make some spaceships, and then we'll send those Greys and those spaceships to their reality to do the abductions for us and things.
Well, we don't know who the masters are yet. We've seen all the people. We've seen all the chess pieces on the board. You know, but we
Yeah.
don't know who's the guy at the top. Who's the one that's in charge? Who's the
Well, I
one?
think there's a lot of them. I think there's different ones.
There might be different
Yeah.
ones, but then if they are different ones, how do we know that that's not the archetypes as well?
See, that's the problem.
Right.
That is the problem. I mean, there are people that believe that there is a higher being, but that higher being, why do people rule out God?
Right.
Because the phenomena has godly abilities. All has.
Mhm.
Beings have been seen to walk on water, float through the air, change one item to a different item, do all the wondrous
Yeah.
things that Christ could do. Absolutely everything. So why is it not? That's my question. I'm not saying that it is, but my arguments to people when they say about these things being so far out there, and I say, well, why is it need to be? How do you know it's not God delivering it all? Because God
That's
doesn't
true.
deliver any bad stuff, because these things do bad stuff. I said, do you know your Bible? Do you know your Old Testament?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Do you not read your Old Testament that says God said that I deliver the good, I deliver the evil to the righteous?
Look at the flood.
Exactly. In charge of it all. Well, then God is just in so many ways. Like I say, we don't know we
Right.
really even don't know what God is, to be honest with you. So I'm never going to rule out everything, but I do believe that there is methods of protection through religious
Oh yeah.
your religious beliefs. I do believe that, and it does work. So there is definitely something to religion, Christianity, and many others. There's definitely something, and because you know what, you'll get somebody from the Middle East, and they'll argue the point that their God does exactly the same thing as our God does, and can help if you pray to Him and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, how many gods are there around the world? Well, I mean, if you want to take
Oh my
India,
God.
India's got 3 million.
Wow. That's crazy.
India's got they've got a god for everything. God of the socks, God of the shoes, God of
God
the
of the iPhone,
God of the loaf of bread. It's just ridiculous. But they say that they communicate with these things, and they've seen them appear, and they've drawn images of them, and they represented the blue, the green. They've got more than one arms, whatever. But at the end of the day, they said it can be rewarded by God through their gods through prayers like us. So who is it? What is the source we're all tapping in different languages and cultures?
I mean that's the thing I've thought about this often, and I'm going to tell you the truth. What happens if, right, and I ken this is going to sound out there again, but what happens if evil feeds evil? What happens if they're here, right, to cause evil in the world, to cause wars in the Middle East? They're giving them technology. They're deliberately doing this.
I agree.
They're causing wars. They're causing famine. They're causing killing. They're causing people to be like see mad things, and then they're killing people, and the world's going mad, right? But maybe what we're really needing today is out of the whole world. Well, how many people are actually real on the earth? Because that goes back to the simulation theory. If we all became good and all enlightened, maybe the world would become a better place.
Oh yeah, of course it would. Absolutely. But the thing is that I think at the steering wheel of a lot of phenomena is the negative stuff.
Yes.
It
Controls
plants.
everything.
Do you know what? If you look at just Scientology believe, they believe there's some secrets of Scientology stuff coming out here. So they believe that there was an entity called Xeon.
Yes, like a volcano.
That's right. And basically, he cast down billions of non-human intelligences into planet Earth, and they has escaped over time. Sometimes down to humanity. What we're doing is drilling and all these sort of different things, and they escape. And what they've done is they've embedded themselves within humans. Yeah.
Yes.
And they're inside us all, and
Yes.
they can drive us away from God.
Yes.
That's what. Now, to drive us away from God, we have to start believing in bad acts,
Mhm.
and all the death and destruction and everything that's happening on planet Earth, and they are winning and all that sort of thing. But what Scientology do when they sell you this, they say, okay, it will cost. It doesn't come cheap, but there are
Yeah.
OT levels.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's about 30 OT levels, but I mean, just an OT level 70 or 7, it costs you 5
Yeah.
million or something. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous. But they teach you the practice of purifying yourself. You're purifying your soul, and that's ridding you, casting out the NHI from
Yeah.
you for you to become pure. Now, what's a pure person? A pure person, when they've been embedded with intelligence like this, is like rubs off on the individual. They
Yes.
might vacate the body, but you have the capabilities to doing things that they can do, which means you can manipulate your own reality. And when you can manipulate your own reality, it means that you can guide your own success, your health, your wealth, and you can pass it on and all these sort of things. Everything tends to come at a cost, though. This is what Scientology is selling. I mean, it's a cult, really, to be honest with you, bottom line.
Yeah.
But this is how it's selling it.
It began with Ronald Hubbard, didn't it? It began with him, and then
Oh,
they changed it.
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, what was he? He was a scribe for Jack Parsons. He knew. I knew they were using the Thelema's practice. They were using the Crowley stuff, to communicate with them, to get rocket engineering information so they could get to the stars. And and when they do this now, because what NASA and other international space establishments are using sigilized rockets. You won't see these. The ceremonial launches. You don't get to hear about them. They're not televised. They're not done. But the sigilized rockets, the rockets with sigils on. And why
Wow.
placing sigils?
Really?
They're placing sigils on rockets. Absolutely. And the sigils, I know what some of these sigils are, and they're putting these sigils on the rockets and they're blasting them up into space and they're going about the business. So people have asked why.
Yeah.
Diana Pasulka asked, Professor Diana Pasulka, religious professor in studies. She asked why are they putting sigils on these rockets? She was told it's for them. She said them
An
who
offering?
who who, who are them? He said the ones are the sponsors, the ones that helped us get to space. So she had to start digging and researching, just as I did many years ago. And then you realize, hang on a second, let's look at all the rocket geniuses. Let's look at all the rocket scientists. Where did they get their information from? Got it in a dream, or it was given to me, or I heard words come out of the air and into my mind.
Wow.
I've got a good friend, David Adair, rocket genius, lovely guy, But I did ask David when he was in Manchester last, when I had him over talking, how did you know your information, David? He looked at me and he said, came in dreams.
Yeah.
But these are life-changing things.
Yeah.
These are things that helped us get to space. Whose information is this? They're being gifted with knowledge like the jinn do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you start to look at these rocket geniuses all around the world, hang on a second, they're doing ritualistic practices. They're doing ritual magic.
It's actually interesting you say that, because then you could go back to 1940. You could go back to the Nazis, because they did the same thing. I mean, they were major. The SS. Oh my God, they had I can't remember the castle off by heart, but they had a castle. It was all
Himmler's castle, Black Mass,
and they were winning the war. They were doing bloody
good.
Yeah,
they were being gifted though.
Yes,
for what they do,
and then it stopped. And then they lost the war.
But without getting into too much of a dark area here, there's been one particular guy who I will not say his name because but he's in the news. He's not with us anymore, but he had an island and he was very bad things he was doing there. Now the thing is what's going on in these files now. People are contacting me and saying, Steve, have you seen these files? I said, why? Why would I want to be? You've got to look at them. Well, I don't want to look at. No, you've got to. Ritualistic practice, trauma-based ritualistic practice in regards
cannibalism,
to UFOs, gifting, on all sorts of damn things. You know, there have been a long connection between these sort of things for a very long time. This is why, at the minute, you've got people in the Pentagon panicking a bit, and I know they're doing this because I've got some contacts. They're telling me this, panicking because some of these people believe it might be demonic orientated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right, and that they can't, certain aspects of this cannot be released because the general public would think it would be demonic orientated. Because that's, you know, I mean, it's like, well, if it looks black and it is black, and it probably is, then, you know what I mean? This is what the problem is. Now, the thing is, it might not be, but that's damn well what people will perceive, especially especially in the Bible Belt areas.
Yeah,
They will definitely.
Oh,
They
yeah.
won't even work on certain UFO programs, UAP programs, because it might be demonic. You know, I mean, that's been a problem for one particular general that came out and talked about this about 4 years ago. You know, so it's, I don't know. I don't think it's demonic. I don't think it's the devil or anything. But there is some dart to this. You know, and it can be utilized for it in ritual practices for things. People do use it to get gifted. I don't think anybody should do it because I think, you know, I think there's a price to pay for it at the end of it, for sure.
We just need to look at Hollywood, and we just need to look at what goes on in Hollywood.
Channel,
and stuff like
the
that.
channel in Hollywood, you know, these actresses and singers, they've recently talked openly about it. Oh, I do ritual practices. Why? Because it helps me. I'll give you an example. She said, I'm supposed to be singing at this event tomorrow, right? This is a famous singer. I'm not going to say her name, but she had a really bad throat. She wasn't too well.
Wow.
So through this ritual practice, excuse me, she allows them to come in. This ritual practice, come in. Yeah. I let nothing in. I don't even let the Holy Ghost in. No, dear. But
I don't blame you.
She lets it in. She's singing. She hears it. It's going. I've lost it. I've lost my voice. Then something comes through in her voice, and it continues, and it was brilliant. It took over. This is what she said. Now, it's not just her. There are many people. There are also people that I know, which are personally friends, which are, let's just say that they're the songwriters and musicians. I'm not going to say the name. But they were approached in Hollywood. You know, oh, do you know if you pay this much and give us your song, we can put this into a ritual. It's going to work. It'll make that song pretty well. That goes on, right? It's been going on for a long time. There was an awards show back in, God, it must have been the late 70s. It was when, Shirley MacLaine's great. I mean, you know, I've talked to Shirley MacLaine. She's into all the subject, but she's a clever girl, you know. And she did a film with Jack Nicholson, and it was called Tears of Endearment, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
So she's at this award. Tears of Endearment's just come out, and she's at this award, and she comes up on stage, and she says, and it's like an evening for Jack Nicholson, you see. So a ceremony for him. So she's saying, basically, Jack, do you remember when we had to do this scene in the Tears of Endearment where it was a bedroom scene? I said, remember that line that you said to me? And then I heard two completely different voices come out of you at the same time, Jack. Yeah. Do you remember that? And he's laughing. He's nodding his head and laughing. He says, do you remember what you said, Jack? And he's laughing, and he's like, you know. She said, yeah, I remember it, Jack. You turned around and said, Shirl, I'm many men, right? And she turned around, because she's clever, Shirl, right? She turned around and went, no, Jack, you're channeling. Because that's what we do. That's what people do. And what are they channeling for their success is the question. It does go on, and I do believe it works. There's certain experiments I've been involved in to prove that these things can happen. You know, it can happen. You can entice these phenomena. You know, it doesn't take a lot. It's becoming, and do you know what's scary, Chris? It's getting easier to do.
Well, yeah.
Not as hard to bring as it used to be.
I've seen some people out there that I've just thought to myself, oh, how are they doing that? How are they doing it? Because there's a lot of magicians out there. Some of them, you can the fake stuff, but then there's stuff that they're pulling off, and you're like to yourself, you're like, even top magicians, old magicians for like the past, for the 80s, 90s, and they're sitting thinking, how are they doing that?
How are they doing it?
How are they doing it?
Some of the things you might not know, you know, but I've witnessed things. It defies your understanding of life, reality, everything, you know. And once you witness that and see it for yourself, and it's not an illusion because other people are there,
Mm-hmm.
then everything, you just throw yourself to the wind and say, anything is possible. And that really does change your life, you know.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Phenomena can deliver anything. We live in such a magical world, and yet people don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff. But it's do you know what? It's an eye opener for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, after decades and decades in this field, how exactly has that view shifted your worldview as a whole from where you started?
Oh, massively. I mean, there've been times when I've just not slept for a week or two because of the experiences, the things I've experienced. But it's changed your life completely because you're just like, well, we're nothing compared to the phenomenon, and I don't know if we're in a control system. I don't know if we're the lab result, the petri dish in the petri dish,
Mhm.
or it's a zoo and we're being, I don't know. But but we're being geared and manipulated and also updated occasionally. We are now human sapien point two,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it's like an X-Men movie. Now and again, you get certain people with powers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A young girl from Russia that's got X-ray vision. I mean, hello,
Yeah.
but you got a guy that can light up paper with his hands.
Yep.
A guy that can pull a train. And you think to yourself, you got these X-Men round. It's like a movie. It's a bit crazy to understand that, but it is the world is changing fast. Something is
Yeah.
manipulating
Oh, yeah.
humankind in a tremendous way because we're seeing that manipulation fast, and evolutionary opportunities like that would take generations upon generations.
See,
Yeah.
You
what's your opinion on the civilization theory? I mean, like, they say we're in the third civilization on Earth. So they say in the past, obviously, one was wiped out, and then one before that was wiped out.
I think
What's your
there's
opinion on that?
more, Chris, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I think it's if really archaeology, it gives you a bit of a clue about the understanding, because
Yeah.
if you want to go back 100 years, you got to dig 30 foot down or something like that.
Yes.
If you go back further than that, you got to dig 50 foot down. You got to dig,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So, but the Earth has a great way of cleansing
Oh,
itself
yeah.
after, so that there's nothing that exists of it. Only like things that could penetrate the time, which like the pyramids and other
That's
things
what I was going to
like
say.
that.
Yeah.
If they wrote documentations in paperwork, we'd be all gone. We'd never
Yep.
know the existence of them. And that's why, I mean, if it happened today, I can't build a rocket to get to the moon. Can you? No, probably not. Well, that is lost technology then, isn't it? We have to restart this.
Mhm.
But then, I might know about it and my kids might know about it. But then one day my great grandkids don't tell somebody about it. And then because they never told anybody
Yep.
about it, it's lost.
It's
It
lost.
Yeah.
never happened. I believe there's more because there's a good book called Forbidden Archaeology,
Yeah. I know that
wrote
one.
by
Yeah.
a friend of mine, and he writes in this book about the discoveries that have been made that puts things back millions of years, and you think to yourself, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there was a story in there of a very, very well-known, well-known female um, archaeologist.
Mhm.
She was on one particular site and a dinosaur dig,
Mhm.
and she dug up a bone. I think it was, I don't know if it was some type of land dinosaur or something like that. And there was a flint head in it.
Yeah. I know.
Uh,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
she was warned not to go public with it.
Mhm.
She did, and then she ended up being a florist
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
because she did.
Yep.
You
It's
know,
like the cases in Russia. It's like the cases
yeah,
in where the coal miners. The coal
yeah,
miners are like they're in a seam of coal that's something like 800 million years
yeah.
old, and
Especially in
they
rock.
find a wheel that's
Yeah,
they find some
yeah,
type of clock or
yeah.
a drill piece, and they're like,
They keep finding these sort of things.
mhm,
So we could be millions.
yes,
We could be millions. Yes, we know the dinosaurs were around. What we don't know is how long they were around for.
mhm,
We can't
Yeah.
tell you that. I mean, dinosaurs could have appeared for just 1 year. If we go
Can
back,
brother.
it could have been, in 65 million years of the Jurassic era. But then we find things and we say, okay, well, this goes through a different era and so on. We can see a traditional change there. It doesn't mean that, the fossilized footprints. I mean, some of these fossilized footprints, science will just ignore them when it gets to, oh, it can't be. Well, it's a footprint. Well, it can't be. Well, it looks like a footprint. You can see the toes. No. Oh, well, there's dermal ridges in it. No. It's not a footprint. It can't be because it'd be too old in that rock. So that it just gets thrown away. They won't use it as evidence because it throws everything out, and that's a real big problem. But I think might have been many. In fact, there's some people that even suggest that we might have even originated from Mars.
Yes.
Because our cycle, our inner cycle is more tuned to the 23-hour day as a 24, which is the 24 is ours, the 23 is Mars, more like Mars. So we're more tuned to that. And we do now know that Mars was an inhabited. It was just like Earth. It had water and seas, air, and everything. Massive catastrophe.
And then something happened
millions of years ago, because civilization on there was obviously wiped out. But we can see that from bits of machinery parts and bits of cut stone and building. We know it's on there. We know there's been but it could be millions of years old, just as some of the stuff might be on the moon, which is millions of years old. But the fact is that there was a colonization by very much an intelligent life. What if we're that life? But then we've just lost our way through this rebooting, recycling process of catastrophes that we're just building up again. Now we're getting into the space stuff and expanding now.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We might have done all that before. It might have been us going to the moon and us coming to Earth.
I'm going to let you go, Cinebira, because I know you've got a question, and then I'll go after this because
so where can people learn properly instead of just consuming some of the speculation and things that are out there?
Well, that's a really good question, Sabrina, because there are different places and they offer some of these things, offer these courses and knowledge you can obtain from them. Some of them are okay, some of them are terrible. It depends on the individual and what they really want to learn. Some people want to go down the esoteric route. Some people want the nuts and bolts, the UFO side, the studies in ufology or advanced UAP studies. Some people want to get into the paranormal mechanics. So we do our own course, which is the UITC, UFO Investigators Training Course. I think it's the only one in the world that doesn't end. Because we say to people, look, the course is only £100. You want the course, you've got it for life. And they say, what do you mean you got it for life? I said, well, when new stuff comes out, it gets sent to you automatically.
Yeah.
So there are modular updates, and it just, because the subject doesn't stop, does it?
No.
We're always learning something new. So
so
it shouldn't be static. It should be moving. But it goes through, but it's the only course, I think. It also covers the paranormal aspects of ufology in a UFO course, because we're trying to encourage the breaking of compartmentalization in these subjects. We shouldn't have it. It causes problems in trying to conclude cases when your answer's in a different camp. And I don't work in the paranormal. I'm not going on those Ghostbusters. I'm a ufologist. And and the other guys will say this. I can say I'm a ufologist, and I'm happy to be a Ghostbuster or whatever, or ghost hunter. But at the end of the day, to each their own, separate studies. But this should be amalgamated. This should be. Look at everything should be now, because we kind of linking. Hang on a sec. Well, in the cryptid phenomena, we've got. It's like a physical poltergeist stuff when it comes to dogs. They are physical fear feeders. They're not interested. The predators, they track you down. Sometimes they'll run after you. But if you fall over, don't worry, you're not going to eat you for supper, because it will stop over you and growl and snarl and make you absolutely petrified, terrified of the unknown. But then it'll run away because you don't know what else to do. And that's what they do. They're physical poltergeists in the sense of speaking. But I think they're all linked together somehow.
Yeah. It's like you talk about the Dogman and stuff like that. What about Bigfoot? I've got friends that have experiences. One of them lives in Virginia, and he's always having really weird encounters. He owns a farm, and
it's another aspect of it. I mean, there are people. Look, for many years we've been told by Bigfoot hunters that yes, it's a real living physical creature living out there, and it's hypervasive. And I've said, okay, I used to swallow that many years ago, and then I realised, no.
No.
They said, why do you come up with that? Because it leaves prints, and so
Mhm.
does a UFO when it's landed. So
Yeah.
does if you get slapped by a ghost on across your face.
Yeah.
Because I used to go to these conferences in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania and all these, and when I was lecturing, I used to have it out with them. I said, "Well, prove to me it's real." Oh well, we find scat, and well, that's So he's left evidence behind, and so do ETs. They leave marks on the bed and on your body, which can only be seen by black light. How about that one?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. So they couldn't, and I realised, hang on a second, we're dealing with a metaphysical phenomena. We're dealing yes, it is a physical phenomenon. You guys are right. They're not wrong. We're both right. That's where it is. They never considers it's in the middle there, because some people go, it's physical, it's not physical, it's physical, it's both.
Yeah.
It can be, and at times it's not. It can just vanish, it can disappear, it can cloak itself, be invisible, that sort of thing. It's accompanied by paranormal balls of light. Some people have reported that they've actually turned into balls of light and shot off at high speed. There was a guy only last week I was looking at, what's his name now? Mark Barton, poor guy. Honest to God, this guy's he's lost his mind. He did after his experience. I mean, he's shaking, crying. He's just completely shocked. He was in shock. I don't know why. What on earth was he doing on a podcast? He's clearly still suffering severely from shock. But this, he saw Bigfoot. The eyes lit up as well. And the campfire was at night out, and the place where he's always been for many years. Had an interest in Bigfoot. See the eyes glistening. Knew it there. Yeah, it wasn't the problem. It was what was with it. These black figures, which got straight into his head and were telling him that we're going to sacrifice you and da 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 da, and all sorts of horrible things. It was a terrible, terrible ordeal for him. And I would not be surprised if he's moved away now and from just getting out of that location. Be honest with you, because I don't think he'll ever step foot back into a forest again. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're dealing. I think all this is all metaphysical. Can be physical when you want to be, but at times they're not. And I think we've got to wrap our heads around this understanding. It's all full of landing quantum mechanics at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mind blowing actually when you think about it. I mean, it's like see with Bigfoot and that. I know there's been sightings of Bigfoot in the UK and stuff like that, but I'm going to stick to the United States, right? With this, what happens if at a point in time, let's say we're going back to the Native American Indians, right? Whoever these entities are, thought, oh, let's make these creatures they'll be scared of them, but they're stuck about these creatures, and that's the creatures you're seeing. That's Bigfoot that you're seeing.
But it could be tulpas. They could be generated tulpas that have been
That's
created. Because a tulpa, I mean, just like the Philip experiment, I mean, it can become, you can create a ghost. Absolutely. Yes. There are 3 levels to that process. They stopped at level 1, the Philip experiment, which is basically incarnation, invocation to incarnation. And of course, the second level is that it becomes physical. And the third one is that physical independent phenomena interacts with you.
Yes.
Then you've got a tulpa. Then you've got something which is a real individual, a real thing, which can go out and create more of its own and do what it wants to do. There could be that. There could have been generated tulpas, absolutely. It was used in witchcraft, and it's been used in parapsychological tests and experiments and things. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. You can birth something through belief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hence, phantom pregnancies in incubus cases.
That's true.
That's also the same sort of thing in a sense.
So, what do you think now that people are starting to kind of open up to different experiences, and that includes the paranormal and UFO and anything else? But now that people are opening up, do you think that things are going to exponentially change within the next couple of years in terms of, what kinds of experiences people are now having and what things they're seeing? And are they ready to fully understand?
No, they're not.
That was a good one.
They are no idea, what's ahead. But there's quite a bit of things I can't talk about that, but we've got to be able to manage this somehow. And you're first to start with is you've got to get your head around spiritual technology and realize that the existence of spiritual technology,
Yeah.
because those two words should never mix, should they?
No.
But they exist for sure. They're actually even on proper documented government documents now, as well as occult physics, which is interesting. What occult physics is, but it's all it's this. We've got to get our head around this, because it's not. As some aspects of it, some tiny little aspects of it will get thrown into the UAP hearings, but in the circles that I've kept and the think tanks, the kind of people know that that's just for the public. They're never going to get anything else. We might throw you a few more whistleblowers.
Yeah, God knows what the governments have been doing. God knows. I mean, especially the American government.
They've all been
Jesus.
The government have been employing the CIA with this phenomenon to try and weaponize it for the last 70 years, and they have achieved in some ways for sure. But they also know how to. No, I can't tell you that. But they do. They do know. They do know that they can be gifted, and they do know that there are certain things that they are doing even now, which through the process of invocation. I'm not going to tell you how they do it, but but it works for sure. I've witnessed it. It does work, and it's a bit unnerving, But they really do put a display on sometimes the phenomenon.
Well, I kind of, I have to ask this question because there was somebody watches this. What could you do weaponized wise with this technology? What could you do with it if it's weaponized?
Command and intelligence to wipe you out.
Right. Basically, build things too, like maybe UFOs and stuff like that. Maybe build with anything you want, or
supernatural assassination.
Yeah.
I didn't, you're forcing this out of me now, Chris.
I have to ask it.
But I know you have to ask these things. But that's just a primary one. I mean, there is there is worse. Believe it than that.
I can believe it.
Wow.
I can believe there's things. I can believe there's things so dark that you do not want
the
to
thing
see.
is, though, I think what happens is you lose yourself.
Yes.
You lose yourself to this phenomena, and therefore you want it. Through greed, you want more out. Well, to have more out from the phenomena, you got to put more in.
Yes.
And to a point where one day you will not. One day you wake up, look in the mirror, and you think, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why am I doing such horrible, terrible things for this phenomena?"
Yeah.
And you lost yourself. That's the problem. If we didn't have greed, if greed didn't exist, we wouldn't have half the problem, to be honest with you.
Well, the world would be a better
It's
place.
always been like that, though, since caveman days. It's always the guy with the biggest stick, and it's the same now. And look where we are now. I mean, every day you wake up to hear the news about World War III.
Oh God!
The doomsday clock being closer than it's ever been before. And you look around, and you think, has any one of them got any sense?
I know.
The phenomenon loves this. It wants this.
Yeah.
It loves it. It empowers it. It tries to get it. You don't give it what it wants, because this is when, you end up with, dropping bombs and stupid things. I mean, this is not the days of the Second World War where we drop one bomb and wipe out 250,000 people. Oh no, this is the atom bomb on steroids.
Oh yeah.
Now.
Wow. Yeah.
And not just one of them. I mean, it's just to the point where, what did he achieve from all this? Well, there's been a grand thing been going on of a long time about, depopulation.
Yeah.
And it's not really because it's the resources of the planet. We just everybody wants to live near the coast. You know how much
Right.
it's just so much out there. There's places where man's never stepped foot. Build a city there. Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
because we want the internet and we want to be able to watch TV and we want to be able to go surfing in the afternoon and we want to be able to have a shopping center.
Yeah.
That is the problem with this planet. The people on it just you can't just walk into the country. You have to make it what it was. We're not overpopulated.
Yeah.
If you took all the amount of people, which is about 8.2 billion on the planet now, and spread them across the whole planet, you could probably still go for a month without seeing somebody.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Look at Australia. Look at the continent. Look at Australia.
It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
man.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
Or Antarctica even.
it is. Yeah, there's so many places, but that's not the reason. Because there's always been something at the back there saying, "Please sacrifice to me, please bloodlet to me,
Yes.
please." The deities from all around the world all wanted it. Even it even mentions that our own Christian God in the Bible said, "I want you, Isaac, to sacrifice your son to me as a test." Oh yeah, we was going to do it. Well, all the other deities wanted it, and you
Yeah.
question that why? Why did they want it?
See, it's like technology like this, right? Technology like this, yeah, it's good. But then again, it can televise like the war in Iran right
Well,
now.
the last word when you're talking about technology is the latest stuff now is basically saying that, and I've heard this in a number of different places, that AI will allow the phenomena to bridge itself better in our reality because they're not in our reality for long, Chris.
Yeah.
They pop in, they go about the business, and they pop out. And sometimes they might take you to their reality and do what they're all their place and do what they do there, but they're not in our reality for very long. So if AI does do that, now that's going to lead me to believe, okay, I need to research AI. Where did that come from? Where did the aspects, the ideas and stuff?
Are you talking to
Just
AI?
like
Or are you
fiber
talking
optic
to?
wires,
I bet. Are you talking to AI or are you talking to like a being for a different dimension?
You won't know, and we're come full circle right down to Aleister Crowley's Lamb.
Yeah.
Through the practice and the Book of Law. We wanted everyone to have a coffee table book. The Book of Law. He wants everybody to follow this.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like, as I say, with technology, everything's televised. So if people are getting afraid because they think there's going to be nuclear war and all that kind of stuff. 1940, when the war broke out, yeah, there was the bombers coming over.
Yeah.
But the only way they could get the news was the papers.
That's the only
or the
way.
radio.
Yeah.
But now it's everywhere. It's on your phone. It's on your iPad. It's on your TV. It's on your watch.
Yeah. From the morning you get up, you're indoctrinated.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. You can't get away from it.
Fear.
Yeah. And at the same time, they'll drip feed that UFOs and aliens are so consciously in your mind that you'll accept the fact they exist without knowing.
Yeah.
And you're halfway there. Did a good number on us, didn't they?
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
Where will we be in 100
it's still
years?
going on, I know. Yeah.
So is there any anything else that you would like to share with our audience that we haven't gone over?
Well, there's always things that can be shared. I mean, of course, I'm not only involved in the advanced UAP studies, involved in the paranormal mechanics and things, but then I've looked in all sorts of things. I've done my work in ancient mysteries, school teachings, and I've been to the ancient sites and done experiments and things there. Some of them very interesting. It's pretty obvious that our ancient ancestors were very attuned.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't tell you from archaeology. We dig up a bone and that's it.
Yeah.
We can't tell you what the spirituality or the consciousness was. They were obviously aware of the frequency. They were probably even aware of the Schumann resonance, which is planet Earth, about 7.8 Earth. They demonstrate quite clearly through the manufacture and the way they live that they were attuned to the planet. They're attuned to the energies and all sorts of things. We've lost our way again.
I know.
But then you know what? There were in the ancient times. There were a lot more spiritual, people will say. I won't say that they're more spiritual back then. I will say that they were normal. I think we all are.
Yeah.
I think we all are.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that we are now fighting against a poisonous world.
Yes.
Everything
Yeah.
you eat, everything you drink, everything you
Everything touch.
breathe
Yes.
is a poison. And around you is poison. The electrical waves, energy waves,
Mhm.
microwave
Yeah.
energies, all sorts of things. We're living in a poisonous world, and then we have children born to a poisonous world. You know, the problem is that we're very, very limited. Very limited compared to the purities of our ancient ancestors that didn't have. They had, you know, they were growing their own food. It was good food. The
Mhm.
waters were coming down from the mountains, fresh water was good water. You know,
Yeah.
the air they're breathing wasn't toxic. You know,
Yeah.
there was no problems with that. And most of all, there wasn't all that radiation around then. You know, so
Yeah.
you know, but now we're poisoned. You know, we're highly limited. It takes a lot for people to be gifted to punch through that. And if people can, then that's brilliant because it shows that this is not something new that you've got. It's
Right.
something old that's resurfacing.
Mhm.
That's where it is. That's
Mhm.
what people got to wrap their heads around. We have to
Mhm.
go backwards in time sometimes to understand what we're dealing with ahead of
Yeah.
time. You know?
Yeah.
Can I ask you one more question because I came running out of time? But what I was going to say is, what is your opinion on the pyramids? I mean, I know there was like sonar done it, and it shows you things underneath. What is your opinion there?
Well, I'm aware of the SARS radar
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
They did it illegally,
Yeah.
of course, because
Yes. Of course.
they refused it to be done. But I think it's very interesting, and
Yes.
it wouldn't surprise me. I already knew from Eric von Daniken because I was good friends with Eric, and we used to talk a lot. And I know about the big two big shafts that go right
Yeah.
down, and he was quite open about that. But yeah, they're interesting, and it wouldn't
Mhm.
surprise me if there is something like that. I mean, quite clearly they are attuned, you
Yes.
know, to an A frequency, certain frequency, Bill.
Mhm.
And we still don't know a lot of stuff of what they're for. Certainly, there could be something about that. They're actually referring to generations, generating energies.
Yeah.
You know, what are those energies for? Well, some people have even gone forward enough to say that they might have been producing their own electricity to some
Yeah.
degree. But it was certainly advanced stuff. But I mean, it's the most advanced civilization on the planet, then, if that's the case. I mean, we never did find Atlantis, so maybe Atlantis is that. I don't
Maybe
know.
it is.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it was a twisted story that they got it wrong. You know, that they had running water and they could heat water. They had libraries, and well, Sumerian had libraries, you know, and they had running water into
Mhm.
homes and stuff. You know, there was a lot more. We have to give them more credit. You know, I mean, we ask questions, how did they do what they did? Well, that depends on the limited of information that you obtain.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I know that I'm a good friends with somebody who works with the Egyptian government and who's associated, done, you know, he's kind of good friends, should we say.
Mm.
I've been informed about the metal pits. Yeah,
Yes.
there are pits out there in Egypt, and it's it was once metal, is
Yes.
you know, but it's just like dust, most of it now.
Yes.
Lots and lots of it. And the thing is, you put a car engine out there, it lasts you about 1,000 years. It's
Yeah.
probably not much left after that. You know what I mean?
You know, in the Sahara Desert, there's still tanks for like Rommel's tanks and all that are still, but they're buried underneath the sand.
Oh yeah.
But there's places on Earth where there's been signs of nuclear war.
Oh, I know.
There's
Yes, there is. Yeah,
no nuclear weapons.
the
Yeah,
isotopes will show it. I
yeah.
know. There is those same isotopes on planet Mars. Interestingly enough,
No, that's interesting,
Dr.
that, isn't it?
Brandenburg found that out.
Mhm.
You know, but yeah, they had cutting tools. They had the 32-foot saw. How do we know? But all these, you can see this big, massive block being cut. You can see the arch of the cut stroke, and you
Yes.
measure the arch round. It's 32 foot. There's a 32-foot saw that was cutting, probably diamond tipped. They had plenty
Yeah.
of diamonds in Africa, you know, but it was cutting, and they had tools. They had, you know, they had these things. How did he bore out? Well, he must have had a tool, because you know what? They're not going to do it with a bit of bone. Forget it. You know, I mean, they make you laugh.
Give me 5,000 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, you've got a piece of rock which is like level 8 in hardness, and what they're going to cut it out with a level 6 piece of copper. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't done well like that, you know. But they've been trying to push this onto people for such a long time, but they did have it. They had machinery. So the secrecy is where they got the information to do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of secret technology. I think
It's
it's like,
secret tech. Yeah, it's the only thing. And this is look, some things did get through the net. I don't know if you've seen that. They call it the something disc, the Sala disc or something like that. It looks like a propeller, a fan blade.
I think I know what you're
But
talking
it's
about.
actually made from stone.
Yeah,
You'd never think it was
Wow.
made from stone. It's incredible. It's actually in the museum. One of these things actually got out. It's a piece of machinery.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
made
neat.
from stone and it's folded over like this.
Yeah,
You think,
wow.
how does you make stone to it? I don't know. But
And
it's
how old was
there.
that one?
Oh, it's thousands of years old.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's in the National the Museum of Egypt, the Egyptian Museum.
Well, we need to go there.
Yeah.
Sabrina. We need to go
It's
there.
on
Definitely.
the internet if you look it up. I mean, it just looks like some type of propeller of machinery or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
mean-
But they must have had technologies to do it.
Well, you think about it. I mean, right? Let's take a civilization like Egypt, right? But say it was the civilization who built the pyramids, no the ones that buried.
Well, I think
pharaohs.
they adopted them.
Yes, yeah, they found them and thought, oh, that would make a great place to bury my uncle McDougal or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
but none of them ever were in there though. They
Yeah.
were all in the
Yeah.
in a different place completely.
I mean, you imagine, right? Imagine the pyramids covered in gold and electric things and flying ships, right? Something happens, right? 100,000 years later,
Yeah.
what's left?
That's it. That's
Desert.
what you see is left. Then it gets pillaged by other
Oh, aye.
because things were taken from it.
Gold and God knows what.
all sorts of things. I mean, quite clearly, the Sphinx did not have an Egyptian head on. It might have been a lion head. I don't think it might have been a jackal because dogs tend to lie more on the sides, front legs, and then on the side. Cats sit like that, don't they? Like Sphinx does.
Yeah.
So I would have thought it probably would have been a large cat head on there originally. And then obviously because it's not proportionate, and you think to yourself, well, the Egyptians are pretty good at getting proportions right.
Yeah.
Until it comes to the Sphinx, and you think to yourself, yeah, it was, and then he just took that down and recreated the head on it, from whatever cat it was or whatever, and then made it into the pharaoh at the time. I'm sure they adopted it. There's nothing. You know what? The Egyptians are very well known documentarians of their history. There's thousands of records. Everything from this is how we planted crops. This is how we did this, except for one thing. This is how we built the pyramids.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
they
we
would never do that, So I say they adopted, but they don't want to tell people that because again, it pushes it all back even more, and
One day
causes
we'll find out.
One day, yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so. It'd be nice, that wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much again for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I have
Enjoyed it.
one last question for you, and that's just where can people
Oh.
find you?
Lots of different places and all over the internet. I usually just say to people, look, just put my name in, Steve, Mera, and you'll find me. I'm, reachable. I do have my own YouTube channel, which is Steve Mera, Mera, official. I do put a lot of my work up there when I get chance, Project Doorway, Project Enigma, and other things I'm working on, research. So those videos on my YouTube channel. I have Facebook page, I have my Instagram. I'm on all the social media things, so people can always reach out to me that way. But I just say, look, most people will just probably Google and find me. There's so many different places out there. I've done so many different things.
Yes. And I'll make sure to include all your links in the description as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks.
make it
I
easy.
mean, I also have obviously the website, which allows people to get the magazine, which
that
is
was
free.
nice.
It comes out every month. It has been for the last 14 years.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
It's in 12 countries and 4 languages, and it goes out every month for free at the end of the month, and it's Phenomena Magazine. So it's phenomenamagazine.co.uk. You can grab that.
Right.
It's basically a research tool. It's for it's for networking, but it's free. We cover every topic in it. People are inquiring about the UITC course that we do on advanced UAP studies. That's on the website as well. That can be found on the same website. And of course, we do our own events as well, awakening events
wow.
here in Manchester. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've done quite a few of them over the years as well. So yeah, anything really 360. We get involved in everything we really within this subject, and of course, TV and radio and documentaries as well. So it's a busy world.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
Exciting too.
I would just like to say thank you so much for coming on. I'll be watching this back again because there's so much knowledge learned tonight. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend, the rest of your
No,
weekend.
thank you guys. Yeah, and feel free to get in touch with me again. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
That's
I said,
awesome.
there's always stuff to talk about.
I agree. Yeah. And we'd love to have you back for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And all of you out there,
Yes.
thank you for joining us. And we hope you have a wonderful evening as well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Whispers crawl across the floor. Footsteps echo, then no more. Cold hands reach where light won't stay, calling you to come and play. Dancing shadows spinning fast, fear and laughter, they will clash. Beat of terror, pulse of night, darkness sings but feels